Recently, with the release of Tears of the Kingdom, there have been a lot of ranking videos regarding the game's content, largely because there's a lot of content in the game to begin with. Some people have even taken to doing multiple rankings on this one game. I've chosen to subvert this trap by ranking 2 different things in one video. Surely this will be entertaining and good for the algorithm. Riddle me this, top 10. When would you use Riju outside of her regional phenomena? Maybe when fighting Gibdos, but outside the phenomena, you'll be hard pressed to find them unless you're in part of a game where you're being forced to fight most other enemy types anyway. As for the other uses, you can go on rocks. Like Yunobo, a thunder can create fire, but some W Stage of Fire has a V on that too. Thankfully, there's one area where she beats you, and that is being used to see in the depth. Yunobo only gives a very temporary glimmer of one-dimensional access, whereas Riju gives the full 2D. Boys are blind flimsy. And let's not forget all the drawbacks, like how weirdly slow it is, or the fact that you have to burn an arrow every time you use it. Look, just because these guys are a lot more specific doesn't mean I'm gonna turn into some song-producing factory. 7 is alright. His ability's intended function is to be used as a shield mid-combat. This role is slightly kerfuffled by the fact that whenever you use a weapon with slide-on shield active, it uses up the shield to give a weird war blast thing. Now, I'm no game designer, but if I had to design a game, it wouldn't be that, and only partially because of copyright. Another piece of bad game design that stifles the use of slide-on shield, having to walk up to the sages mid-combat to activate them. Slide-on can clean up goop, but that's only during his phenomena. Each of the sages have something that they can only do during their hero quest. The only other emergent use I can think of is using Slide-on Shield to bypass weather effects, which, 1, can only be done by clothes, and 2, again, is screwed up by the game's walking over the sages system. I wanna rock and roll now. Now they start getting good. Yunobo's ability is, of the 4 sages, easily the most unique. He's a cannonball. I'd specify in a Zelda game, but this isn't my first Zelda game, so I don't know if this is normal for the series or not. Being a cannonball, Yunobo is incredibly fun to use in combat. The fact that you can activate Yunobo from most anywhere means that if you feel like it, you can run after him in combat and send him straight into an enemy's face. The devs must have realized Yunobo's inherent cannonballness, because they made it so whenever you operate something vertically, Yunobo will come to the front of the thing and become fireable whenever you hit A. None of this walk over to the sage nonsense. As for emerging uses, Yunobo is the only way to renewably destroy rock walls, which makes him the best sage for the environment. Yeah, I got nothing to do with that. I just don't have to take it. Let's be honest, was there any chance I wasn't gonna put Thulin at number 1? Thulin doesn't do much beyond his base concept, but his base concept revolutionizes the entire game. Thulin sends you forward with rather powerful gusts, giving a strong buff to paragliding. Especially helpful considering when you get Thulin, you're more likely than not to have low battery and most likely no auto build. His gusts also affect other things, but that's more or less irrelevant. While I am ostensibly meant to be talking about his specific stage ability, I would be remiss if I did not mention the fact that Thulin is really good with the bow in combat. Yeah, to be honest, I only had like 3 songs planned out before I recorded this. Queen Gibdo is one of the bosses where you know they're going to be the hardest boss in the game when you fight them. The main attack of Queen Gibdo will be throwing out a freaking laser that homes in on you as you move. And they're moving while they do it as well. There's also a charge, but that's not important. And what's more is that Queen Gibdo has the misfortune of being the boss in Riju's quest. You see, 3 of the 4 temple bosses need you to use their respective sage's ability on them to make them vulnerable. This is unfortunate since Riju's lightning field takes quite a while to expand, and that's added to the whole bow and arrow thing. And when you do get the Queen Gibdo down, it's the only one of the 3 bosses that still attacks. And even if you do anticipate the attack, don't get around it too early since a hitbox covers its entire body during the attack. But let's say you have gotten Queen Gibdo down to their second phase. They probably spawn a bunch of other enemies you have to deal with. Reminder again that they are the only boss that does this. And that Gibdos don't just get spawned in. They also activate from Gibdo hives, which regularly spawn in more Gibdos. And how do you get rid of these hives? That's right, Riju's lightning. So, funny story, I was originally going to do a Splatoon song for Mukdrok, but then Mukdrok without the second phase changes is a fine boss. The whole knock him out with the Sage ability thing works around the main weakness of Sidon's ability, that being a beam but also a shield. But when the second phase begins, things get a lot messier. When gotten down to half health, Mukdrok sprays a bunch of Guntium everywhere. Well, yes, there is literal mess. The Guntium makes other aspects of the fight much worse too. Mukdrok gains the ability to start slipping and sliding all around in the Guntium when you make them vulnerable. Coincidentally, you have decreased mobility in the Guntium. Can you see the problem? So you're left with the options of making a sudden trick shot on them with Yunobo or bow, and hoping you get to them in time, or trying to become a janitor while dodging the Guntium's attacks. Did I mention that Mukdrok also makes more Guntium while slip and sliding? This is still about Mukdrok. Splatoon songs don't have any English lyrics, so Ogum is a very simple boss, but they're a simple boss done well. They've got about 2 attacks, both of which are easy to dodge. One throws 3 rocks out in the direction of Link, while the other specifically throws rocks to surround Link. It's not like they'll be much of a hazard though. You have movement in 3D space and the surrounding rocks can just get blasted by Yunobo. But there's another way to deal with the rocks that makes the fight truly special. You can use recoil on the rocks to send them back at Mobile Goma. None of the other Phenomena bosses involve the arm abilities in their fight, which I guess is understandable considering they're meant to be to test how well you can use the Sage abilities, but it's nice seeing the depth they added to Goma's fight. Another neat little thing is that Goma's second phase boost is the only one that feels fair whilst not being barely noticeable. In first phase, you have to hit Goma's legs with Yunobo to make them vulnerable. Aiming him isn't all too difficult considering the legs are on ground level. After getting them to half health however, Goma jumps on the ceiling, which means you have to curve Yunobo around the wall, not to let it hit. Going out and we're dancing in the storm. Colgera is another situation like Tulin, where there was no doubting I would rank them in the top spot. Colgera is nothing like the other Phenomena bosses in the best way. I mentioned how the Phenomena bosses test your ability to use their respective sages, but Colgera is the only one that tests how you'll be using their ability in the rest of the game. Tulin's ability is, as mentioned prior, a mobility-based one. So, obviously, you use Tulin's ability to maneuver around in the fight instead of just hitting them to make them vulnerable. Speaking about moving around in the fight, the Colgera fight completely changes the format to be a battle in the air where you have to use a mixture of riding updrafts, diving, and Tulin to get where you want. Colgera has attacks, but they will not be hitting you. What's more important is how you hit Colgera. Sure, you can shoot at its undersides with an arrow, but you can also choose to smash through the top while diving. My only complaint is that the phase switch up does not change anything about the fight. You just have to take out 3 more body segments. Hey, I rank these things in the same order. So, no song for the outro because you may have noticed that I got a keyboard.